Good evening. Welcome to our town hall meeting. Today is June the 16th, 2026. Format for our town hall meeting is we'll do a few updates on some things happening in the county. Then we'll open it up to hear from you. You can ask questions, make comments about any subject that we've talked about or not talked about. The rules are when you want to speak, you just come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and then head into your discussion item. I want to do some update on our parks. Oconee Veterans Park Tennis Project. Contractor has been awarded on that. They're in the design phase is underway now. Get some good reports about getting the budget like it needs to be. We could have dirt moving or plan to have dirt moving in the fourth quarter of this year. Heritage Park, we received a $3 million grant from the state. This will be to expand the park, helping to pay for the 110 acres we just added. So we'll have 474 acres in that park after everything's completed. I'm having trouble reading my writing now, so give me just a second. Trails, we'll be updating the 18 miles of trail that are there and also adding 3 more. We'll do infrastructure for parking and restrooms as well. Signage improvements for the trails and entrances, and then improvements to the equestrian facilities there, adding a new arena and putting in both the new arena and the covered arena. The Wendell and Betty Dawson Park, grading infrastructure is our first area. Those plans are in for permitting right now. We are having to permit through the federal government because we're crossing the stream. But we are on schedule for a fourth quarter awarding of the contractor. Road improvements outside the park, they're at 30%. We're in utility coordination on that project. Expect to go to permitting in the fourth quarter of this year. Once that's done, first quarter, we should have a contractor on board to start the road improvements. Our fields and support buildings, concession stands and restrooms. Construction documents and permits in the second quarter of next year. And contract will be awarded as quickly as the site can be turned over for construction. County Services Building, construction documents and permitting in the third quarter of this year. Bidding and award will happen when the site's ready to be worked on. And then our gym, our contract construction documents, we expect about the third quarter of this year as well. Water resources, the LAS decommissioning is underway, and that's a key to the park construction as well. Calls Creek 3 million gallon a day expansion. We're in the third and final phase of that, and we're installing the discharge line from the treatment plant to the middle Oconee River, and that's what you see happening on 441 with that construction now. Oconee Basin Water Authority, that's where we get our drinking water for water resources. Plan completion is close. We expect to have plans ready in August with bids in September or October. This will take us from 4 million gallons a day for our share to 9 million gallons a day of fresh water. And then Hard Labor Creek, the treatment plant is under construction at Hard Labor Creek now. We won't be withdrawing from that reservoir for a while because we don't have transmission lines in yet. Road construction projects, new high shows at Union Church is a functioning roundabout. We are doing some punch list items, but that is complete. Astondale at Collin Ferry Road roundabout is under construction now. Cold Springs at Snows Mill and Acock Road, we're in right-of-way acquisition for that roundabout. Moore's Ford at Lane Creek is the next roundabout, and it's in the design phase right now. We're also working at Cold Springs and State Route 53 and Clotfelter Road for a roundabout. Those plans have been submitted to the state and approved, and they're currently at 30% design and doing utility coordination, and then we'll head into the right-of-way phase. And then 316, as you know, is under construction, so just stay away from there. Watkinsville Bypass, GDOT's currently reviewing and assessing the input from the community. We expect a Expect a meeting sometime August with GDOT for an update on what they learned from the conversation, and then talk about next steps for that. I've had a meeting with a couple of the city council members, kind of talking about different ideas for downtown Watkinsville. As you know, the mayor's interested in having the board of commissioners and the city sit down and work, come up with some plans, and so we're working on a plan to develop the plan now. So you'll see some stuff coming from us in the next 30 days to the city on how to move forward there. Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education will have a joint meeting on July the 6th, and this will be at 4 p.m. at the Instructional Support Center. And we'll be discussing and considering a property swap. So we're looking at taking the Civic Center and transferring that to the Board of Education. And in exchange, they will give us 42.7 acres of property right outside of Bishop. The Civic Center was built in 1992, and $2.2 million was the price on that at that time. So once that transfer is complete, the Board of Education will be in charge of the operations. What makes it a good deal for us and them is that they use up 50% or more than 50% of the usage time that's available for the Civic Center. And then we'll have that property that's in Bishop. It will be held for a future park, and it won't turn into another subdivision. Elections will remain at the Civic Center for the full length of the IGA that we come up with. Should have a good draft of the agreement between the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners at our next meeting on the 30th. And so that'll be out. We'll discuss it prior to meeting and voting on it on July the 6th. My last final update thing will be on our T-Splosh. As we talked about during our strategic planning sessions, we do want to go ahead and ask you to renew our T-Splosh. This will be discussed at our next meeting. We'll have an update on July 7th to go over the IGA with the cities. We have a mayor's meeting that'll occur on Monday, June the 22nd. We'll talk about it on the 7th. And then on July 28th, if all the cities approve the IGA, we'll do a call for the election. And then the Board of Elections will meet on August the 3rd and do their part of that. We already have an October 20th, 2026 town hall planned, and that will be a T-Splosh focused event. And then, of course, the election is on November the 3rd. We're expecting roughly $72 million to come in over the 6-year period. As you know, last time we had T-Splosh, we dropped the millage rate by 1 mil, and we're planning to continue to keep that drop. That'll take up about $17 million of that T-Splosh. Paving, we have $36 million set aside for paving to continue. That'll be around 24, 25 miles of road, which is kind of what we need to keep up our 443 miles on this 20-year schedule. And then we have safety intersections at $9.5 million. The cities will receive $9.3 million of the T-Splosh. So Watkinsville receives 7.7%, and that'll be $5.6 million roughly. Bogart will get $2.3 million. North High Shoals will get $950,000, and then Bishop will get $568,000. The paving's kind of self-explanatory. We do have some on our safety improvements. We have some initial things out there, and if you have some other items to add on intersection improvements, we'd love to hear them. Rocky Branch at Malcolm Bridge Road, both the north and south intersections of that road, we're want to look at putting roundabouts there, especially with the park coming online. That'll put more pressure on that intersection. State Route 53 at Hebron Church Road, we'd like to put a roundabout there. Epps Bridge at Dowdy Road, we have a lot of accidents at that red light. We're going to try to figure out how to alter some of the traffic flow there to make that a little safer. And then State Route 53 at Burr Harris Road was another one that we hear a lot of comments about for improvement. With Oh, yeah. So we do have an update on the 53 at Ray's Church and Malcolm Bridge Road. They opened bids on that last Friday. The apparent low bidder is E.R. Snell at $2.4 million. So they should receive a notice to proceed in the next 60 days to get that intersection functioning correctly. Anything any commissioners like to add? All right. The meeting is now yours.
My name is Lori Breedlove. I live at 1051 Rose Creek Drive. And I appreciate, first of all, the continued work that you guys are doing with the city council and GDOT, who doesn't really seem to want to be very helpful from what I understand, with the bypass. But I was wondering about this August meeting that you mentioned. Is that going to be like a public meeting, or is it a stakeholders meeting?
Right now, they're claiming, they're classifying it as a stakeholders meeting, and I've seen it go both ways on that. Sometimes they're public meetings, and sometimes it's just a set group to kind of talk through some of the comments. Over time, in dealing with GDOT, they are very responsive to comments that we give them.
Did
It's
you
still-
get comment from the resolution at all when you guys sent that?
No, not yet. They're still going, they got more
I'm
comment
surprised
than
they
they,
didn't respond sooner.
well, they're still going through and analyzing everything, so.
Yeah,
They got to run that through their consulting group, and then they got to meet with GDOT, and then they'll come back with some questions and just,
okay,
laying out the next steps about what they think needs to happen.
okay,
I wouldn't say they're not helpful. I mean, when I call, they talk to us. They're going to make the decision they make at the end of the day.
yeah,
But through the process, they've generally been receptive to hearing what we got to say. Or like on McNutt's Creek on 316, we've been fighting the way they're going to do that. They listen, they still make their decision, but
mm-hmm. And so regarding, you guys asked about them doing a study through the pipe plant. Will you push for them to do that? Or I assume that Brian doesn't want that to happen.
so we just suggested them some things to look at. I think we're going to look at some things too, and just talking with the two city council members, we threw out some just brainstorming stuff right quick. Even if the bypass goes in, there's still going to be issues in downtown Watkinsville that need to be addressed. And so
Right.
that's what we're going to be focusing on, is trying to improve the flow. And
Okay. So this might be a bit of a radical idea, but I was thinking about the pipe plant and how, if there was a road or, a bypass going through there, couldn't you kill two birds with one stone and put up some affordable housing, apartments on either side? It would create a buffer for everyone else, and it would create affordable housing because no one wants to live right next to the highway. Right?
I don't know about that.
Just throwing it out there. Thank you.
That's,
All right.
that's that, asking for something to be built in the city.
I'm asking for the problem to be dealt with where it is, rather than.
I can assure you that since you got up, and I actually had your email, I was reading it. My feeling on it is, and I don't want to have any worse relations with the city that I already have with them. But I would, to me, this whole issue is kind of like going back, dealing with the city and the library. To me, it's just library 2.0. And I told them now, John and I met with city officials. And I feel that the city needs to have money on the table, not push it off to other people to fix.
Yeah.
They gotta sit down and listen. What have you done to help resolve this issue? And not just say it goes, a road is to be built in the south end of the county, and you don't really care about how those people feel.
Right.
I think
And that
that's
it won't solve their problem downtown.
not, well, yeah, I mean, that's some other issues, but I think the big thing is the city has to, as I told them with the library, put money on the table. County
Yeah.
puts $600,000 a year into the library, and I asked the mayor, I said, how much money y'all put on in it? 30,000?
That's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Less than.
I said, so, and the way they conducted that wasn't, I mean, it was bad feelings, at least with me.
Mhm.
I don't like to be done that way.
And I got the impression from being at the city council meeting last month that they feel like they don't have any money to use for anything. And I
Well,
don't know anything
So I
about their
think the
budget.
comment was about their annual budget, which is 3 million. But luckily we have SPOS and T-SPOS, so if the voters approve T-SPOS, so SPOS and T-SPOS together for the city will be over $10 million over 6 years. There's some opportunities there.
Yeah.
But I will say, I do think it's a good idea for both groups to sit and have some discussions. I
Mhm.
think that's a wise thing that wasn't done on the front end.
Yeah.
And I think they seem to forget that we get telephone calls too.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility to listen and try to understand. So I welcome any kind of dialogue with it. But I expect them to put some money on the table. And that is, they may have to do some things they don't want to do.
Yeah. And that's what compromise is all about.
But that goes with the territory. When you're in elected office, you sometimes have to make decisions that not very tasteful.
Yeah.
But you got to do it. But don't push it off on everybody else to go fix your problem.
Right.
And at least address, things that I've seen. And I'll just say it right now is I remember I got a call from somebody in the south end of the county after some discussions I had with some. So that person came early one morning and sat down there for, I don't know, close to 2 hours maybe. And I did it not long after that. And you can go, anybody in here can go. The traffic's not the same when school's not in session.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. And so, to me, I think folks have to address that. There's a lot of people taking their kids to school, and there's Oconee Middle, Oconee Primary, Oconee Elementary, and Oconee Ferry over there along that stretch.
Yeah. And everyone from Simonton Bridge has to get through downtown to get to school. Right. Because there's no school on that side of town.
Well, they're going, cause I live off Simonton Bridge. Those young folks are driving and going to University of North Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna use a couple of ways to get over there. But you don't see them now. I mean, I don't see them coming. I mean, there's traffic on Simon Bridge, there's gonna be traffic on, everything, but you don't have that one right after the other in a certain time period. And that's something the city has to deal with.
Yeah.
But they've got traffic coming through there, and I don't think they're gonna go drive, get back in downtown Watkinsville and then take a left and go drive 12 miles to go get to a bypass.
Right.
That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just, I think things like that have to be addressed, and just don't throw out that there's gonna be, we wanna get it, starts off on a truck bypass. I don't know what they're calling it now.
It seems like it's just a bypass now.
Yeah, whatever. And, maybe for cyclists, I don't know, but I think those things have to be addressed instead of just throwing out DOT,
Build a
we're
highway.
doing south part of Oconee County, but
It seems like there needs to be another road in the city.
well, that's kind of what but I think the good part is we can sit down and talk.
Yeah.
And get this stuff, I can say what I'm gonna say, my colleagues can say what they want to say, and the city can come back. But my position's always, you gotta put some money on the table. You don't wanna play the game, go do something else. Don't expect us to take the beatings.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be a part of that. That's just not going to. And like I said, it's not gonna be Library 2.0
Yeah.
when they were working the crowd behind to get the board to switch a vote. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm gonna approach it. You wanna talk straight up, let's talk. But you don't get your way every time.
Yeah. And so GDOT calling it a truck bypass is like are they not interested in doing this at all if it's not a truck bypass without the curb cut? That seems to be coming up a
My
lot.
understanding is after they did that initial assessment in 23, I think it was, the numbers they saw about the improvement in traffic is what drove them to go and try to seek additional funding to do this right-of-way acquisition and,
So they thought that there
design.
was enough truck traffic to
I think the
justify.
way it was phrased to me, this was secondhand, that the numbers they saw exceeded their expectations or criteria to go and spend that money. Not just trucks, but what it would do to relieve. I don't have all the data, and I wouldn't understand it probably if I saw it. But that's what started heading the thing down. It was that initial study, what they saw there, they said, well, hey, whatever criteria it is, we're exceeding all our criteria here. We need to pursue this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having an explanation from them about their data because it doesn't make any sense to me. either.
There's probably a lot of data you hadn't, I don't know how much they share, all that.
Yeah, we
I think it
only-
was a different group that did the study initially
Yeah.
than.
We did do an open records request for the data that they collected for the study, and it was going to cost over $1,000 to get it to us, which is pretty shocking. So we didn't get it.
Some of that may be because it's a different consultant that
Mm.
we're going to charge this point to go
Yeah.
back. I don't know if what new data was done on these.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I won't take up any more.
Hi. My name's Louise Langdale, 1120 Lexington Court Bishop. I'm a member of the Library Friends Group, the volunteers that put on the book sale twice a year. We have 2 dates currently confirmed with the Civic Center, September and February. We're assuming those dates are still set during this transition to the school board. Yes or no? Is there a point?
Anything that's already booked and locked in, we'll stay that. Whether
Okay.
both of those are considered locked in with us, or we'll have to check on that. But anything that's is programmed prior to the changeover on September 1st will be
Okay, very good. Is there a target transition date?
September 1st.
September 1.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Will our contact then remain Whitney within the Civic Center during the summer for the?
No,
September?
that'll shift over. There'll be a person at the Civic Center you can communicate with. And they also will have an online registration thing where you can go in and reserve. So they'll have different rules than we have for sure.
So we can expect different rules as well for September and February for sure.
I don't think it'll impact you. The different rules will be related to alcohol and firearms mainly.
Right.
So
Okay.
you
Very
won't be
good.
able to bring your guns in
Okay.
or serve wine while you're doing the book sales.
Do we know anything possibly about cost? Because currently it's free to us now and that impacts our sales, obviously.
Yeah, we'll just have to talk through that with them.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Very good. All right. Yep. Very good. Thank you.
Um, was Jason Smith, 32 Thrasher Drive, Watkinsville. I understand, I really appreciate you guys trying to help us out with what's going on in the bypass and trying to get to the bottom of all that. There has been some efforts to put out some traffic counters. Do we have any updates on that? I know that that's been pushed forward, but I don't know if that's come to fruition yet.
I haven't digested yet.
We'll get them out pretty quick.
Okay, all right. Furthermore, as far as the stakeholder meeting, I know this is probably some of the stuff's out of you guys' control and everything else, but in my mind, a stakeholder isn't just the city or the county, it's also somebody that's gonna be, directly affected by this. And I understand that y'all don't necessarily get to set the terms, but I would encourage you to, if at all possible, have some way representatives of people that are gonna be affected by those routes directly, both, proposed routes in the city and outside the city. Perhaps they could be at that meeting or at least set up something to, get information to them as quickly as possible to try and, continue that discussion and that dialogue. So,
Well, regardless of whether it's open to the public or not, we'll definitely be
Mhm.
Communicating out, here's what the next steps are. And so
Okay.
you'll know the.
I have no
Yeah.
doubt. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Dan McGee, Lock Lemon Circle. Just want to thank you all for the work on Dawson Park, ball fields, hopefully the large rec center Chuck Horton spoke so eloquently about. But I hope we can do both long term. Want to thank you. It's been planned for a long time. Just a quick reminder, 2018, one of the town halls, we talked about rails trails on the railroad tracks down 441. Hope one day it comes to fruition. And last thing is hopefully no one is reaching out to you all about data centers. Let's keep them out of Oconee. Please, please, please. Thanks.
Tommy Malcolm, Northwest Woods. I just want to say thank you to y'all for having these town halls. And going back to the current talk about partnerships, looking back 2007, I remember the purchase of the current track you're talking about in Bishop, and I think that's a great way that one board was able to do something, and then time goes on, and instead of maybe an additional subdivision at that place, it's something that the community can benefit from. And I want to share with you an idea tonight, and I'm not asking for you to, I don't want to put you on the spot, and maybe there's already conversations going on, but I wouldn't want to hurt any of those type of discussions or potential for the future. But just talking about Dawson Park, I want to talk to you about another Dawson and thinking about actually the same family, father-son situation there and many family members. But I've been thinking about with Northwest Woods and with the Oconee Primary, Oconee Middle, and Oconee Elementary schools right there at Butler's Crossing. As you recall, when we widened the road, the state came in with the road here at Oconee Connector and all that. As you recall, they barred some dirt from the Phil Campbell, and that's a whole nother talk about legacy and who's done things for our community, even well before my time here. But as you recall, they took some dirt and made a larger retention pond where Phil Campbell is currently, and it's my understanding that the University of Georgia actually took that over from the Southern Piedmont Experiment Station. So I know it's got multiple layers of involvement. But even going back before that, I remember Mr. Sammy Sanders, and I'd like to also acknowledge Dr. Deborah Harden here tonight. But I remember when the high school opened in '96, and I believe there was some land swap and partnership back then going on, just to kind of get the high school where it was positioned there, Oconee High School at the time. But going back to Cliff Dawson Road and the Northwest Woods area and Burr Harris, and where the Oconee Middle elementary and primary sits, I would love to see us maybe try to coordinate through partnerships some sort of pocket park with that larger retention pond. And I remember when it first the dirt was first removed to help with the road, making the 4 lanes we have now. I remember looking at that and thinking, man, that is an awesome lake that I could see future cross-country students running and other people in the community. If we could somehow get that padlock off and everybody would agree that this is a park and we can still, the university and the federal government, whoever was owning it at the time, could just say, hey, look, all that irrigation water is still going to be for our research on that other nearly 250 acres of land. But now, as I measured it, it's about 25 acres sitting right there, and the trees are just growing up. And I'm thinking, wow, we could get maybe some Eagle Scouts and some other student volunteers to maybe get in there and create a pathway for people to run, walk, and maybe even we could do some water docks, fishing. But I know that that would have to be navigated. But I just speak to this tonight so we could encourage you to continue the partnerships that you're doing right now in Bishop, and I totally support that endeavor. But thinking about that particular project right now at Cliff Dawson and Burr Harris, is there a way that we could maybe snag that 25 acres? Because ultimately it's everybody's taxpayer money, whether it's the federal or the state or the local level. Could we maybe get that for our community and still they could benefit from the irrigation needs and certainly the other research? And even if they needed to put a fence, maybe back the fence up a little bit, but people for generations to come could enjoy it as a park. And I just say that as a pocket park so that as we're going forward, I totally applaud y'all for like talking with other organizations and other governments for, hey, what can we do on this? And I totally hear that everybody's got to bring some money to the table. But this is one that I think would just be maybe just cut the padlocks and open it up and get some volunteers to help initially. But I start with y'all because I guess I need some help with maybe where to go to first, but I know y'all oversee parks and recreation. But I would also say through this whole endeavor and this upcoming conversation you're going to have with the school board, I encourage you to set up something that the community, maybe for tax advantages, kind of thinking about land legacy. Other families in the community that might have land at this point, but they might be feeling the pinch of maybe assessment values growing, but they would be maybe, hey, can we donate our farm in some approved way to maybe be a future park or a future school? And just things like that. I thank y'all for trying to be creative and trying to work with the other organizations. I know the lady that spoke earlier, I appreciate her comments, but I see just as I recall, these 42 or so acres were purchased in Bishop approximately 20 years ago. I see that. I remember the conversations being probably, we're going to need a middle school. And certainly we have a newer middle school right now, but there's going to be another middle school built somewhere in this community. There's going to be many more elementary schools, and there's going to be some more high schools. And so even right now, the conversations about Simonton Bridge Road and everybody trying to get to Butler's Crossing, I believe there's going to be a day that, Barnett Shoals might have a beautiful elementary school sitting out on it somewhere. And so I just encourage y'all, thank you. I believe there's already maybe a future fire station plan out on Barnett Shoals, but I would just say any conversations you can have with any other government groups, I encourage you to please continue to talk and also opening it up to the families, legacy families in our community that might be able to donate some land for some tax advantages. And just again, as I wrap up, thank you for your time. And I just want to emphasize this current vision I have of how can we take what Phil Campbell has done, and then certainly through the Southern Piedmont Group, and now I think University, and now you guys handle Parks and Rec. And is there a way that we could maybe take that padlock off of it, get about 25 acres, it's still their land, but we have a beautiful lake and a place where students and other people in the community can kind of just enjoy the water, because I see that pocket parks is going to be one way to go as we go forward. So again, I'm not asking you to necessarily respond right now, but I just hope you'll be thinking about those things. Thank you.
Do a quick date on EMS. We've received all 5 ambulances that we purchased. They're on site now. They're going through branding, and equipment should be here next week and be uploaded, ready to go. We've met with both hospitals, Clark County and National, to start initiating the changeover schedule. So we should have some information on that in the next 60 days about how that timing will work. But everything's running ahead of schedule, actually, so it's going pretty good. Any commissioner have anything they'd like to say? Thank you so much for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you in October at the town hall meeting. Thank you for passage of SPOS. We really appreciate that. That really helps us on the getting big ticket items taken care of without increasing millage rates. And hope you'll be looking out for T-SPOS information coming out and help support that as well. Thank you.